Today is all about sewing sweaters, some inspiration for you, maybe with patterns that are classically not the style of sweaters but that can really work and make your sweaters just that little bit more elevated. I'll also be showing you some sweater knits from my collection that I think are great for these non-traditional sweater types. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today is about sewing some sweaters. Now, a sweater can be a really basic piece that you wear under your jacket or you wear on its own. It can be a transitional piece, something you wear in the spring, in the autumn, when it's not full-on hot or full-on cold. And today, I just want to give you some inspiration about the styles that you can sew these sweaters with. Some patterns are actually called sweaters, and they are quite basic designs, usually a bit of a higher neck, just a regular sleeve design for knit fabric. But you don't see that many sweaters out there that have interesting details, but that doesn't mean you need to have really basic sweaters, because you can use other patterns that also work for lightweight fabrics and cottons and such, but they can also make a really amazing sweater. Knit fabric. For some reason, over the last year or so, I have been making nicer sweaters for myself. I do want to look nice when I'm in the house and it's cold. You know, I don't have that many things for colder weather, but the ones I had, I was using them on repeat because I didn't have any. But now I'm building a nice little collection of really pretty sweaters that I can wear. Spring, autumn, you know, that in-between weather. I do have a new sweater that I've made, and I'll just insert it in here in the video at some point. I do want to take you down memory lane and show you a few of the beautiful sweaters I've been making. And I've been using patterns that are not specifically designed to be a colder weather type of garment at all. I also want to let you know that I made a full video about how to sew with sweater knits. It's really in depth about how to cut it, how to stabilize it, types of stitch lengths, how to use a serger, when not to use a serger. So many practical things about sewing with sweater knits. That's already up on the channel, so I'll leave that here as a reference for you to go to, because I do apply all the techniques and things I show in there when I am sewing with sweater knits, and it's become second nature because I'm enjoying the fabric so much. One of them is a pattern from Sinclair called Linear Top, and I made this in 2021, I believe. It's designed to be made with a lot of different fabrics for color blocking, and I did mine mainly with a sweater knit I had left over and a mix of a French terry and a mix of a fake leather knit in there. I think most people would look at a pattern like that and think, oh yeah, cotton spandex, maybe sweatshirting, and you'd sort of think of other fabrics but not a sweater knit to make that top. And I think it can definitely work, and I really enjoy that one. I wear it when it gets a little cooler and it's just a different type of sweater, if you know what I mean. Love that one. There's also another top I made from Itch to Stitch called Camo Top. I made one of the versions out of a purple and black striped sweater knit, and it's so pretty. It's just the prettiest sweater. It's so nice. That top was not designed to be made as a sweater, but it mentions the knit fabrics, how much stretch it needs to have, and if your sweater knit has those requirements of stretch and enough spandex recovery, then why not? There are a lot of patterns that have quite a few possibilities with the fabric choice. You can think outside the box sometimes and use a sweater knit even if it's not mentioned. If you ever think I might get cold because these necklines aren't high like a sweater, you know, just use a scarf and that fixes it all. Plus, I think a scarf is a great accessory that you can play with, and it can just take your outfit to the next level, in my opinion. I made another sweater using the Cebu top pattern from Itch to Stitch, which can be made with a variety of knit fabrics. I also made one with a lighter athletic knit, but I chose a navy sweater knit and I did accents with a stretch lace. It's got a little bit of skin showing. I think it's really pretty and not your standard basic sweater. There's another top that's super popular at Love Notions called Breckenridge, and it's got a Henley placket here. It's a different type though, an easier one. And when I started making that pattern, I used athletic knits, I used rayon spandex, I used a whole bunch of different types of knits to make that. But then I decided to make a red one in a red sweater knit, and it's such an amazing sweater. I love it so much. The neckline looks beautiful. And even if it's deeper than the traditional sweater, you know, just a colorful scarf will fix it. And it's a really nice sweater, different to what you'd usually see because most sweaters don't have a placket and buttons. But it can be done, you know, it is possible. There's a pattern I made recently in a sweater knit, and it's the Lincoln top from Love Notions. Also one that could be a sweater if you want. I had a lot of fun transforming the round neckline that was the original into a square neckline with a facing that you can also do with a sweater knit. It's navy. It's so beautiful. The fabric is so drapey. and it can be a sweater, it can definitely be one, and of course you can use other types of knit fabrics to make a top like that, but why not a sweater knit? In the middle of mentioning all the ones that I've made and showing you all my fit clips and all the imagery I'm putting in here so you can see what I'm talking about, I wanted to let you know the pattern I used to make my latest sweater, and it's one that you wouldn't usually use to make a sweater. It's a top or a dress, and it's the Love Notions Feature Friday pattern. It's a Willow wrap top and dress. Beautiful pattern, I love it so much. I've made quite a few of them already. It's so lovely, it's quite a few options there. You can make the piece that goes under the bodice either a peplum or the length of a skirt, A-line skirt. It's not too full, it's not fitted, it's perfect. And the bodice is a crossover fake wrap bodice because it's just the bodice and it's caught in the seam and it wraps all the way to the other side. For the crossover, you have an option of a lower or a higher crossover, and I've sewn both styles and one in the middle. So there's a lot to play with there. So I chose one of my pretty sweater knits and made one of these, but I'll show you that later. It's only $5 today, Friday. My affiliate link is down below, as well as all the previous content I have about the make that I've already shared on the channel. Just a heads up, my coupon code at Love Notions is changing every 3 months. You can always find the current code that's working next to where I put my affiliate link in the description box and in the pinned comment. I'd made the sherry from 5 out of 4 in rayon spandex, made a simple top. I'd also made a dress out of ITY, and now this year I had a lot of fun making it again with a beautiful sweater knit. I love the print there, and it's another example of a pattern that could work and just give you a really amazing fitting sweater that has those tie features on the side. I think they're really cute. The dolman sleeves, easy to sew, easy to fit, and so it wasn't a really hard project, but it gives you a sweater that's just not your basic sweater, you know. Recently I made a top by Sinclair Patterns called Chloe, and I made one of these versions in a red sweater knit. I used the long sleeve version, and it's just one of the most prettiest tops I've made lately that, you know, it's stuck in my mind because it's red and it's so striking. It's so beautiful. That cow neckline with the pleats here, the drape of everything is just amazing, and I don't think many people have made that top in a sweater knit. And the most recent sweater I made is in a color that is a little lighter than what I usually would use, in a pink tone, but it's still really beautiful. It still matches me. I think it matches my style, and it's a Zakopane top from Itch to Stitch, and I made one in an athletic knit, and I also made one in a sweater knit, so you can see how you can just use and sneak this type of material in, you know, without it being part of the recommended fabrics, and it's absolutely fine. It's such a beautiful sweater, amazing. I love it so much, and it definitely works. Another one I made from Itch to Stitch recently around my birthday period was the Coimbra wrap top. Most people did not make it out of a sweater knit, you know, most people make it out of other fabrics, but I made a black one and it's amazing. A full wrap, it means it opens all the way up, and what a nice sweater. I mean, what a nice way to be nice and warm and look really nice. It's not boxy, it fits amazing, and the sweater knit was perfectly doable. Another pattern I used a sweater knit with from Itch to Stitch is the Gothenburg top. That one has a basta on the side, and I made another one in other types of knits, but that sweater knit, that grey fuzzy type situation is so beautiful, and it's a lovely sweater. A different type of neckline with like an integrated facing. Another pattern is the Terra tunic, and I used a really lightweight stripy sweater knit. I'm not a fan of horizontal stripes that much, so I cut these front and back pieces on the bias. This is the version that has a facing on the neckline, a type of boat neckline that's a bit more open and has a placket on the shoulders with buttons. So it's really beautiful design, really lovely with the slits on the side, and sweater knit, why not? It's amazing. Perfect for it. Now I want to show you some of my sweater knits. I'm sure I haven't shown these on the channel, and for these types of sweaters I want something that's lighter weight, so I don't want really heavy sweater knits, and when I look at them and hold them and move them, I want them to have a little bit of drape. For example, I have this one, and I bought this one in 2 colorways. I bought it online so I couldn't touch it, but what got me was the print right here. It looks like it's on the bias, right? Because plaids are usually like this, but this is how the fabric is. So whatever I make, it's going to look like I cut the fabric on the bias, and it's got maroon and burgundy and dark pink. You can see the shine. That's a material called lurex that is weaved into a lot of types of fabrics. I didn't know it had that because I couldn't see it in the photo and I didn't see it in the description. So what that does, it means it's a little bit scratchy for me. It's actually a lot scratchy. So the only way I could wear this is if it was a sweater. I couldn't just make a top and just wear it out on its own because I know I would be a little bit uncomfortable. So what I would do is just have a long sleeve thermal, you know, those really lightweight, really thin sort of second layer that you put under your clothes in the winter. That's what I would wear to get this to work. And it would have to be a lower neckline so that the top is there and this never touched my skin. So that is something that you need to think about if you are sensitive to the way some fabrics feel. And that Lurex, yeah, it didn't really agree with me. I know now to not buy fabrics that have that. I found a supplier here that sells sweater knits in all different types of colors, and I really like the quality. So I've been making a lot of my sweaters from that same type of fabric. They're all made from the same type of fabric, just in different colors. And this is one that I have that I haven't sewn up yet. It's a blue, fairly lightweight, and look at the drape. It's just amazing. So this is perfect for any pattern that has a lovely detail. It would work and it would be an amazing sweater. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for stiff, heavy fabrics to make these types of sweaters. I couldn't pass up on this green. This is lovely and drapey and soft and all the qualities. It's got at least 5% spandex, which is what you need at least to have some recovery and not have this fully grow and stretch out in the form. The plaid is something that I'm like, I'm just not happy to wear plaid that much, or anything that is going to go across like this across my body. So like I did with the Terra tunic that I mentioned earlier and cut my pieces on the bias, I would be very happy to cut my pieces on the bias to make a really cool sweater and just have them look like this. I think that is the way I can get around it. And I love the green. I think it's beautiful. I have accessories to go with this type of green and I just like it. So I have it in my collection waiting for the right time to become an amazing sweater. And there's no hiding that I like houndstooth. I've been trying to find houndstooth prints in different colors for wovens, for knits, or different compositions because I just like the look. And this summer in Chile, when I was shopping in the fabric district in Santiago, I found this one. Purple, the houndstooth print is medium sized and it's so lovely. Soft, it has an amazing drape. This is gonna make an amazing sweater and I can't wait to sew it. So I have these. I know I love them. I know I want to make them, and because I'm so motivated, you know, to make them, I'm always really open to the styles, looking at patterns and thinking, yeah, that could be an amazing sweater. It can be. So that's why I've been making so many in different styles with patterns that are not specially designed to be sweaters, but they can be, you know. So I mentioned I'd made a Willow wrap top from Love Notions with a sweater knit, and it's so pretty. Look at this. I love the print, the drape, the softness. It's got all the stretch that you need and it's just so pretty, and it was such a lovely, enjoyable make. I've made this many times. I've already got my pattern pieces. I know they fit. I didn't have to do anything but take out my fabric, cut and sew. I did film a little bit though because there's always some sewing in here, but it wasn't like I was filming the full-on tutorial. Now what I wanted to do here was use the long sleeve, which I have. This is an inch longer than the original, and there's my wrap bodice. That's just a simple wrap bodice, not the one with the pleats. I like the one with the pleats, but I think you can see it if you're using a solid. And I know that now because I've made 2 of them with prints and you can't see the pleats. So that's unfortunate. I think the pleats will look nicer if you use a solid. So knowing that, I just made the simple one, and you can see that the wrap goes all the way to the side seam there. And on the inside, it goes all the way to the other side seam. So it's super safe. This is the higher cut line depth. It'll give me a higher around here because it's a sweater for winter. I don't want it low cut. So that's what I did. And I was thinking, what can I do to make this one special? Sometimes with prints you can't see the crossover because it just gets lost in the print and it just looks like you're wearing a V neckline, which you are, but it's not the typical V. I decided to bind the bottoms of the sleeves in the same way, and I've included that as a mini sewing segment here so you can see. This is my binding. It's a stretchy knit. I serged one of the long ends so that it's knit inside, and this is 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches. This is how I decided to finish the bottoms of the sleeves, just to have that nice navy contrast there in this athletic knit. You can see how this was sewn onto the right side of the fabric and then flipped over to the wrong, just wrapping around the sweater knit. That's where the serged edge is, and in there we stitched in the ditch. So now I'm doing the neckline the same. I made the binding 90% of the total of the neckline, so I do have a few pins here and I am stretching the binding slightly to match the neckline underneath. got them right sides together, and I'm sewing this at 3/8 of an inch with a narrow zigzag stitch. So there we have the binding sewn right sides together with 3/8 seam allowance. That seam allowance there is what's going to give the look of the binding its width. So basically you just wrap the binding around the sweater knit. You're not putting the binding to the inside like a facing, so it's just wrapping around, and it's got just enough space here to cover that seam so that when we stitch in the ditch from the right side, it's going to catch this on the wrong side. I did serge it. I didn't want to leave it raw, but you could leave it raw. It's not going to fray. I just think it looks better like this, more professional, more finished. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this all in. I'm going to be hand basting this down here on this area just to make sure I'm catching this, that it doesn't move, and then I'll go and sew right in there. After hand basting this, as you can see my white thread there, it's holding the binding down towards the inside. I'm just sewing there where the sweater knit meets the binding. I'm not using a stitch in the ditch foot, I'm just using my regular foot. You can't see the stitch that I'm doing right now, and it's catching this side, so it's a really neat way to finish something. So I hope that was helpful. I used an athletic knit. It's really nice. I used the navy as a contrast, and I think it suits really well. And I used my Peplum. This is not a dress. Twin needle. You know, for this style I add the length that I need to lengthen the bodice around the bust area, and I do have a video showing you how to sew this dress in detail. Everything from the binding to the fitting, everything. So I'll leave that link down below so you can see the practical elements of sewing this design. And yeah, it's so lovely. I have styled it over my linen Allegro pants in navy. I think it's amazing, and yeah, can't wait to wear this when it gets cooler. It's an amazing sweater. But it doesn't have to be, you can make it in other fabrics too, you know. This is the 5th time I make a Willow wrap top from Love Notions. This is a size extra large with a standard bust option, but this is the first time I've made it for in between, you know, weather, spring, autumn, and I used an amazing sweater knit. I've used the long sleeves, and I've got the original length of the Peplum here. This can also be a dress, and I've made several dresses in the past, but look up close the details of this print. It's so amazing. The bodice hits my waist at the front and the back, and I think this is a style that can suit a lot of people. I really love how this fits. I make all my length adjustments at the bust height. That's where I add length. And to highlight the wrap over bodice detail, I used exposed binding in a contrast navy so that you can see it. I also used that at the bottom of my sleeves, and I think it looks really, really nice. When you wrap both front pieces, you can choose how deep you want this crossover to be, and because this is for cooler weather, I've chosen the higher one. Sometimes if you do a wrap over style in a print, it just gets lost in the print and it looks like you're just wearing a regular V. That's not happening here because of the contrast binding that is visible. I think you can make this as a sweater, a more dressed up one that fits really well. You know, not all sweaters have to be boxy and loose, and I really enjoyed making this one. This is a pattern that I really can't stop making because it's just so lovely. It fits amazing. I just feel great in it. It's just the best sweater ever. Really love it. If you haven't seen this pattern before, I have 3 dresses, which just means the peplum is longer. And I filmed new footage of me wearing them styled outside. So it's been 2 years since I hadn't made one of these until I made this beautiful thing. So I've got this little summary for you to see my 3 versions. This is a Willow wrap dress I made at the end of 2019. I have the original A-line skirt. It's really beautiful. This is a heavier weight rayon spandex with an interesting print, and up closer you'll see the details of the bodice. I really love this dress. It's held the test of time in the wash. I've been really careful to wash it properly and not have the color fade. I do have the pleats on the side there, and I think with this print you can see it. I really like how that bodice can be customized to hit your waist and just fit amazing. I add my length at the bust area. That's where I make my bodice longer. This is an extra large size with a regular bust option. I use the original armhole that's supposed to have a sleeve there, and I just put some binding to make it sleeveless. And I love this dress so much. It's one of my favorites. It's just so pretty. I made this version of the Willow wrap top at the end of 2020, and I only used the bodice actually because for the skirt I just made my own pencil skirt. It does have a seam at the waist, but the skirt is just straight up and down. It's an ITY and I have a sleeve underneath. No, I like the fit of the bodice, so why not add a straight skirt? So this is one I made a few years ago. This is another Willow wrap dress I made at the end of 2020 with an ITY. I also played with the skirt here and just made the A-line a little less. At the bottom, the last 5 inches of the hem, I cut it and I lashed and spread, so I have a little flounce at the bottom, both in the front and the back. With this one, I have a print and I use the pleats on the side. I think they're beautiful, but you can't see them with the print, unfortunately. But yeah, this is a lovely one I had a lot of fun with. It's lovely. I love that print and the ITY. Lightweight fabric, so I do have a slip underneath, and I've just styled it with grey there. Here I've used the lower cut line available in the pattern. There's a higher cut line where the crossover of the two front pieces will come up higher on your chest. Pleats that you can't see, but they're there. I hope to have given you some inspiration about sweaters, that they don't have to be so basic, that you can use other styles that might not be traditionally designed for sweater knits, but then you can have an amazing sweater and you can just wear some light thermal thing underneath and be perfectly fine. Look for fabrics that have a little bit of drape and that aren't too heavy and that have at least 5% spandex or elastane or lycra in their composition so that they can stretch and recover and not just completely expand. And yeah, I'm just really happy with my sweaters. These sweaters are perfect for spring and autumn. Don't forget to check out the Willow wrap top and dress. That's all from me today. I'll be back soon with another sewing video for you. Bye!